everyone, my name is Evan and I like to make stop-motion dinosaurs and monsters. And in this video today, we'll be finishing off Shimo I, do say. And we'll also be talking about the new Empire today. During this YouTube video today, we'll be adding pounds of plasticine clay to finish off this movie monster, I do say. And while I create this stop-motion Shimo today, one could say I'll be doing a movie review along the way. But before I get carried away, I'm happy to say it is spoiler-free, I do say. The Monsterverse continues with its 5th theatrical release, with previous features such as Godzilla 2014, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Godzilla vs. Kong. And now we have Godzilla x Kong, the new Empire. Adam Wingard is the director once again, which is actually the first time a Monsterverse film has been helmed by the same creative mind. So it should follow up nicely with the previous film. And depending on your perspective, that can be taken both ways, good or bad. Either way, hype has been building up for the last 2 years since its announcement. And it's all been leading up to this, so has it been worth it? To which I have to say, if you are sold on the idea of Godzilla teaming up with Kong to fight against other giant kaijus, then you are getting exactly what you bargained for. And once again, this is spoiler-free just in case some of you haven't seen it. I won't be discussing anything that hasn't been already released in the trailers. The new edition of the Monsterverse puts the mighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla against a colossal deadly threat hidden within the Hollow Earth. Not only does it threaten the existence of their species, but our own as well. And diving into the mysteries of the Hollow Earth, pun intended, as well as Skull Island. This film will explore the ancient Titan battle that brought man and beast together as one. So, how was it? Well, it probably should be mentioned that this is a very Kong-centered movie. He is definitely the main character and is probably in it more than anybody else. And he is the one that goes through the most change, in spite of Godzilla evolving. It is definitely a Kong-centered movie, which is easily the most engaging part of the film. He's definitely more mature than he was in the previous movie. And it's not just because he is sporting a beard now. Basically, he's learning his place in the wider world. But you get the feeling he longs for more, because he's constantly on the alert for others of his own kind. It resembles your classic fairy tale princess story. However, in this case, our princess is a giant monkey. So when we see him encountering other members of his species, like Zuko or the Scar King, it really feels like a big moment for Kong. Something that's been building up since Skull Island. And it definitely pays off. Wingard has taken very careful steps to make sure the nonverbal storytelling aspect is effective as possible. The monsters don't simply speak to one another, it's not that simple. But with their body language and the actions that they perform, you can tell exactly what the Titans are thinking. It definitely gives you the impression that they're not just monsters, but fully developed characters. And that is something that is rarely ever achieved in monster films. So it makes the adventures with Kong very entertaining. About half the film is spent focused on the monsters, so we spend a lot of time getting inside their heads. So in that regard, Kong and the new Empire is the best he's ever been. But what about this new Evo Godzilla? Well, unfortunately, he kind of feels like an afterthought. Which does make sense considering the film was originally developed as Son of Kong. Every now and then the movie would cut back to what he was doing, just to lightly remind you that he is there. He is definitely intimidating as ever though, rampaging through cities causing widespread destruction. So that being said, every moment that he is on screen is definitely great. And the attention to detail is just amazing. I love this new character. However, the movie doesn't really do much with his new evolved form. Power-wise, he's about the same as when he started at the film, and apparently he's not any bigger. So why make him change his form at all? Oh yeah, that's right, to sell toys, which honestly I don't particularly mind because they're still on my shopping list. I need to go get some of those ASAP. But overall, in this film, Godzilla kinda comes across as relatively unimportant, and is just used as a plot device to help, well, fight the bad guys at the end. Speaking of the enemies, the antagonist of the movie, the Scar King, is crazy, literally and figuratively. He is very entertaining to watch just because he's so insane. Mainly because he's just evil and enjoys it. He is definitely that maniacal ruler, and is definitely someone who leads solely through fear. He's actually a pretty complex villain considering the fact that he is not the strongest kaiju in the universe, or the largest, but he's got wit, speed, and numbers on his side, as well as the giant ice titan, Shimo. They did their best to hide this titan in the trailers, but not well enough. And her reveal scene has to be one of the coolest in the Monsterverse, pun intended. There's a lot more to this character than being some cold-hearted ice titan. Sadly, I should mention that Shimo and Scar King weren't actually in the film for very long. In fact, they don't actually show up until halfway. Which personally was really disappointing because I was hoping to see a lot more of these new monsters because when they were on screen, they were absolutely amazing. And it should be mentioned that there are many monsters throughout the film, new and recognizable, and all leave a lasting impression. Personally, some of my favorites were at the beginning with those weird-looking dogs that Kong was hunting at the beginning. Those are really cool. But let's talk about the CGI animation. Since that very first trailer, there's been a lot of discussions over whether or not they're good or bad. Now, to be honest, it is a little mixed. Like, for example, all the Hollow Earth stuff looked absolutely amazing. For those sequences, it's almost breathtaking. It's just so cool, especially with some of the camera effects that they're able to pull off with two worlds basically being upside down. However, it does get a little janky when it gets to the surface world. And definitely a step down compared to Godzilla vs. Kong. However, I'm not sure how to put my thumb on it exactly. It looked like the textures were just a little almost faded out. Like, it wasn't great because they were in broad daylight. And it definitely should be mentioned, we've never had this much monster action in a Monsterverse film before. It's practically a fully animated film, so naturally I would expect them to have to make a few shortcuts here and there. And it's a sacrifice that I'm personally more than fine with because, well, to tell the truth, I'm usually pretty harsh on CG and I really didn't mind any of it from this film. Just the top surface looked a little strange. The big fact of the matter is, as long as it's engaging and doesn't take you out of it, I'm totally fine with it. Now, obviously, the monsters are a huge part of the film, but what about the part with the humans? And luckily, that's surprisingly good as well. I don't think there was really any boring characters in the film. Easily one of my favorites has to be Trapper. Dan Stevens did an amazing job at this role. And there's definitely this entertaining little bromance between him and Bernie during the film, which I think a lot of you will like if you haven't seen it yet. But one of the ones I was definitely looking forward to the most is Gia, and her acting has definitely improved over the last 3 years. However, it did kind of feel like she was underutilized. Now, don't get me wrong, she is very vital to the story, and like Kong, is a beating heart that gives the film soul. She doesn't really have very many scenes with Kong, which were definitely some of the highlights from the previous film. I was kind of hoping to see their bond grow, but if anything, this film has kind of distanced them, which is a bit sad and feels like a missed opportunity, but overall, I'm definitely very happy with the human cast all around. It's basically like some people going on an adventure, so it's definitely a refreshing change of pace. There is a lot of jokes which made me laugh, but some people who are there for more serious monster content might not appreciate it as much. So what about the story itself? Is it just an excuse to have monster mayhem? Well, both yes and no. The story is very straightforward, but gives us plenty of opportunities for monster action. And there are a lot of contrivances and some pretty shoddy writing. But there is an element of depth with both Gia and Kong that do give it some emotional roots. There are stories of oppression here, and the loss one might feel when taken from their culture, which definitely turns the film into something more than just a dumb monster movie. Now, considering the working title of the film was Origins, it doesn't really feel like I came out of the film knowing more about the history of these kaijus that I basically didn't already know, or various other things that contradicted each other. I just probably found that the most frustrating out of everything in this film. But maybe that's just because I'm a nerd. I was really hoping they would go in depth, but unfortunately not. Now, as far as editing goes, this film is very fast-paced. I did leave the cinema a little overwhelmed. Not entirely sure what to make of it all because so much happened. And upon doing that, I'm guessing they had to either simplify the story or cut scenes, and I'm guessing it was both. And the final fight is kind of shockingly short. And because it's so fast-paced, nothing really stood out. Everything just kind of mushes together like this chaotic finale. And I don't think it's as satisfying as it could have been. Now, with all that being said, Godzilla x Kong is a fantastic adventure from start to finish. With stunning, fantastic new visuals, great characters, and plenty of monster action. And if you are a big MonsterVerse fan, I think this is definitely a movie you should go experience. But it's not without its flaws. Now, overall, I would rate my experience 7.5 Dougs out of 10. And that concludes my movie review for Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. So we're on to the glamour shots, so that leaves me only one question for you, my dear viewer. What did you think of Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire? Did you enjoy it or did you not? Let me know in the comments below. Now, if you've enjoyed this video today, be sure to smash that like button as hard as a kaiju, I do say. It lets me know, as well as the algorithm, that you appreciate all the time and effort that goes into these stop-motion monsters. Or perhaps leave a nice comment below what you think of the project, and share with your monster-loving friends and family. And if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my new content. I post daily shorts and usually do one video per week, and I now do the occasional live stream. And if you're already a subscriber, I just want you to know I appreciate your support a lot. You're the inspiration for this entire channel, and I hope you all know that. So, thank you very, very much. Now, I probably should mention it's never been a better time to have your post notifications turned on because, well, I'm pretty active on this platform at this point. So, thank you very much once again, my dear viewers. So, hopefully you enjoy these glamour shots as well as this project. And if you're new, be sure to check out part 1 and 2. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.